So I'm choosing to talk about cannabis or marijuana or weed or whatever you want to call it. I'm choosing to do this because I'm from Oregon, which is legalized marijuana a while back, and so my hometown and my school town have both legalized it. It's been around me for a couple of years now. It's probably the drug I've had a lot of experience with, not personally because I'm asthmatic and I can't smoke, but it is the most popular drug of choice for off-campus activities, I would say. So, I mean, I knew the kind of basic effects, but kind of looked deeper to see the actual scientific supported effects of this drug. So, for short term, there are short term and kind of long term, but for short term effects, in general, you experience like a high, you feel kind of relaxed and happy, kind of drowsy or so. There's everything I read actually said something about a higher appreciation of art, which is like music or visual arts or anything. So there's that also. But it can also impair your memory, your thinking, and your reflexes. So the THC, which is the chemical in the drug, disrupts the process of forming new memories in your brain. So there's that. And also lowers your motor control. So you probably shouldn't drive when you're high. And your reflexes are much slower as well. So it's also been shown, I'm sure as you know that it's used medically now, it's been shown to reduce pain and anxiety. But it can also increase your heart rate and your appetite as well, which is maybe not so good. There's a couple of other unpleasant ones. In addition to reducing anxiety, if you take too much of it or use too much of it, it can actually increase your anxiety a lot, and you can feel paranoid and really anxious, which is not fun, really fast heart rate. You can get really confused, you can even hallucinate. So, but all of these are short-term effects, so this only lasts really as long as you're kind of in this high state, which can be anywhere from a couple hours to like a day, maybe more, depending on how much you consume and also like your body type, your size, and your weight as well. So that can depend on a couple things, but it is short-term. Marijuana does stay in your system for a while, though, even after you're not high anymore, which is why if you have to take drug tests for sports or anything, they remind you that it can stay in your system for about a month or so because the THC actually is absorbed all throughout your body in fat cells, so it will slowly, gradually secrete out, but it can stay for a while, which some people say this means that the effects would also last as long, not as strongly, but it might slow you down a little bit. So in terms of long-term effects, there's not a lot of solid evidence on this, which I think is in part why it has been legalized in several places, and I'm sure it's getting legalized in more places. But it has been confirmed that it can be an addictive drug, even though it has been previously thought not to be. But you can get addicted, and you can experience withdrawal. Marijuana is also thought to alter brain development, which doesn't have a whole lot of support, but there's a lot of debate on this because once the THC leaves your body, is it really leaving any kind of lasting effect on your brain? There was a study I read in Australia that is supporting the theory of brain development damage, which they studied people who did smoke in their adolescence versus people who didn't. And they did show lower IQs and lower brain development. So they are focusing more on the adolescence though because the brain isn't fully developed until your early 20s or so. But there's a lot of interest in that because so many of the people who do use marijuana are adolescents and are under the age of 22, 21. So in terms of biology, I've already mentioned the THC. It's the active main chemical in the drug, which is tetrahydrocannabinol. I'm not sure that's how you pronounce it, but once you smoke it or consume it, it enters your bloodstream and it goes straight towards your brain where the chemicals bind to cannabinoid receptors, which are found in multiple parts of the brain that affect things like emotion and memory, thought and sensory, and then time perception. So it is an agonist at these receptors. So it does increase it at those receptors. I was reading, it was interesting to see that took a while to find these receptors and that kind of actually scientifically see what's going on with this. So in terms of my sources, I did some perusing through Google Scholar, which gives you some good journal articles and kind of resources. So, but I did find a nice article on just the effects and stuff with the Royal College of Psychiatrists, which is based in the UK, and I went through the whole website. It seemed pretty credible as an institution. It exists, it's real, so I found that pretty credible. And then another source I used was a 3-part article series written by a doctor on Psychology Today website, which might be a little less credible as a website, but the author's credentials seemed pretty legitimate, and the entirety of the articles were littered with references to studies and other journal articles and stuff, which were all linked and all appeared credible to me, so it seemed well supported. So those were just 2 of the sources I used, and just some various other readings as well, just to kind of solidify everything. But yeah, that's what I learned about it.